2020 has been a year. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys about how absolutely bonkers this entire year has been. It's been a crazy year for all of us, to say the least, but on the channel specifically, things have been going pretty okay, thanks to all of you guys who are watching this right now. And so I wanted to wrap up 2020 with a couple of top 5 videos for the year, and we're going to start with this one, which is my top 5 keyboards that I have reviewed in 2020. I actually reviewed my first keyboard on this channel in 2020, and in the course of less than a year to have all these keyboards have come in, have made all these videos, and to have met a lot of you guys who have subscribed thanks to those videos, it's been a great year and I feel privileged to be able to be here. And while I haven't reviewed a ton of keyboards this year, it's actually not as many as it feels like it has been, I do have still 5 of my favorites that I have received. I have not purchased any of these keyboards with my own money, and I have not been asked by anybody to make this video, so the companies who sent them to me don't even know I'm making this video. I'm just taking it upon myself to tell you guys about my favorite keyboards. This is just going to be kind of more of a laid back video, not going into a lot of elaborate detail about any of these keyboards because I have already reviewed them in the past. I will link the full reviews in the description as well as adding cards in the corner, so keep an eye out for those. I'm just going to tell you guys really quick about why it is I chose these 5 for my top 5 of 2020 and what makes them stand out over the competition. I hope you guys like recycled B-roll. This is also not going to be in any particular order. Each of these keyboards has their own strengths and weaknesses over each other, so I wouldn't necessarily say that out of them I have an absolute favorite, but they are all really solid keyboards that I really enjoy. And so we're going to start things off with the Blitzwolf KB1. The original review I did on this is probably one of my more popular videos of the year, and for good reason. There is a lot about this keyboard to enjoy. It has the same size and form factor of a traditional 60% keyboard, but it has dedicated arrow keys. They managed to squeeze arrow keys onto this thing with some compromises, for example the question mark being moved over to the right side of the up arrow. It is a little awkward, it does take some getting used to, but once you get over that hurdle, it is a really nice keyboard. Now, one thing I forgot to actually mention in that review is the stabilizers. I might have briefly touched on them, but they are really great stabilizers out of the box. I have done a little bit of modding to the switches with some dielectric grease that I have applied to the stabilizers to make them a little bit better, a little bit quieter, but honestly for $50 this has some of the best stock stabilizers that I have ever really seen on any of the keyboards I reviewed here. It's $50, it has Bluetooth, the keycaps are not amazing but they are not bad either. It looks pretty nice and has a fairly low profile with that floating key design, and the keycaps, while they will be a little bit harder to replace, always could be replaced. For example, I actually did replace the keycaps. These are all the white drop keycaps that I was sent earlier this year, with the exception of these 2 which were not covered in that set, so they're just a couple blanks from a Taihao keycap set. And I do feel good about that decision. I feel like it does help the keyboard sound and feel a little bit better than the stock keycaps, but even with the stock keycaps, for only $50 it has Bluetooth, great stabilizers, and pretty nice switches. With a small form factor and dedicated arrow keys, I mean, how could this not be included in my top 5? Up next is a weird one. It's one that I don't necessarily normally use in my rotation, but I definitely do plan to use it here and there when the time calls for it, and that is the GK96S. It is a 96% keyboard with a bunch of keys. It is all jammed onto this smaller form factor, very similar to something like the Iconix K96, which is also a 96% keyboard that has a lot of different colorways. It's a beautiful keyboard, but it is also very expensive at about, I think, $200 or more, but it's a very expensive keyboard. Whereas this keyboard, it's actually not launched yet, it is still available for pre-order. The Kickstarter I mentioned in the video for this keyboard is over, but you can pre-order it on EpoMaker's website. The reason I chose this one is because it has a lot going for it. While I don't particularly love the keycap colors that are on here, you do have a lot of advantages with this keyboard. You have arrow keys, a number pad, Bluetooth capabilities. It is hot swappable with 3 and 5 pin switches. You can choose to get a Gateron optical version. I don't know why you really would. Personally, out of my own preference, I think that your best bet is to get the one that you can just swap out for whatever custom switches you want to buy. If you want to get tangerine switches, kiwis, drop pandas, holy pandas, everything else that you might want to put into this thing, if it's a 3 or 5 pin traditional mechanical switch, you can put it into this, and that I think gives it a huge advantage over any of the other keyboards on this list. So again, number pad, arrow keys, Bluetooth, hot swap, it's a really hard keyboard to beat. Up next, we have the AN Pro 2. Yes, that is the AN Pro 2. In my review, I called it the ON Pro 2. A lot of people pointed it out. I swear, there is somewhere where I've heard it called the ON Pro 2. Or I could be mixing it up with On from Persona 5. Maybe that's where, my brain just kind of Mandela affected itself and I got mixed up. Because everywhere I look, when I look up videos about the AN Pro 2, everyone's calling it AN, and I feel like such a goob. But that aside, this is a great keyboard. It is my favorite 60% keyboard that I own, with the exception of one that will not be covered in this video because you'll see in a future video. Now, you might not recognize it. I actually have some different keycaps on this thing right now. These are wannabe SA keycaps from Amazon that I got for about 20 bucks, which I plan to cover in a review in the future. One of the reasons that this one is one of my favorites is because it does have some pretty decent stabilizers. I'd say stock, they're probably not as good as the ones that come with the Blitzwolf keyboard, but they are still pretty decent. The keycaps that are included with the AN Pro 2 are amazing, really thick, nice looking keycaps that sound really great. It also has Bluetooth capabilities, which is not super reliable. I've seen some people who have had a lot of issues with Bluetooth connectivity. I didn't have very many issues, and I did use this keyboard as my main keyboard for a long time. But one of the best things about it that I really like over any of my other 60% keyboards is the tap feature, where you can assign a key to have a secondary layer function that is activated simply by tapping the key instead of holding function and pressing the key. Out of the box, these 4 keys here in the corner all act as arrow keys if you just tap them. Holding them, it will not work, but just a quick tap, and you've got your up, down, left, and right, well, left and right there in the corner. And you can totally customize it in the software with various lighting effects and various layers and different hotkeys that you can trigger with the tap feature. I think that's really amazing. My arm's starting to hurt, these keyboards are getting heavy. Up next, speaking of heavy, we got this big old boy, the Drop Enter keyboard. It is a 10 keyless keyboard with an aluminum body, and it is just fantastic. Actually, I think, is it all aluminum? I actually don't remember off the top of my head. It definitely feels like aluminum. It's cold like metal to the touch. It's heavy, it's solid. Either way, this is a great keyboard. My only complaints about it really were that I didn't like the color of the lighting. It's supposed to be white, but it kind of came off as more of a yellow. But the keycaps that are included with it are beautiful. They're really nice, higher end premium feeling keycaps. The switches, which here I have, are the Halo True. They just feel like really nice to type on, really nice tactile switches. Not as tactile as something like maybe the Glorious Pandas, which I'm going to cover in a future video, but I would say that they feel really nice and sound really nice as well. Much better than a lot of the tactile keyboards I do have here. The build quality, the keycaps, the switches, everything combined makes it a really great keyboard. It's probably one of the more expensive keyboards on the list here at about $90, but I'd say it's well worth it. And in comparison to Drop's other keyboards, which are much more expensive, I think starting around $150 up to $250, depending on if you go for the high profile, low profile, what switches you choose, etc. But those are hot swappable. This one's not, but you've got some great options. It also comes with Gateron yellow switches if you so choose, which are some of the smoothest budget stock linear switches. So that's definitely a great alternative option if you don't want the Halo Trues. It's a great entry-level, higher-end mechanical keyboard. I don't really know otherwise how it compares to the Alt and the Control from Drop, because I have yet to use those. Drop, if you're watching, holla at your boy. But yeah, it's definitely a great keyboard that I plan to use here and there for a long time. And last but certainly not least is the ACO 3068. I didn't review this version, but I did review the ACO 3068. Just about a month or two back now from filming this video, I filmed a review on the Cherry MX Brown version of the ACO 3068 with the 9009 retro color scheme. This is the silent color scheme, which is named after some keycap set called Muted. It's themed after that color scheme, and this one in particular has Cherry MX reds. But the fact is, I did cover the ACO 3068 in 2020, and I really loved the version that I reviewed. The only reason I'm holding this one and not that one is because I don't really know where it is. Somewhere in either my closet or somewhere around here. I got a lot of keyboards kind of laying around because I got reviews that are going to be coming up really soon. Point is, you're seeing footage of the one I reviewed right now on the screen. It's a great keyboard. 65%, it has arrow keys, it's got Bluetooth. Well, this one does, not all of them do. The one I reviewed does not, but Bluetooth is available as an option, and I think it's a great keyboard. It's got Cherry MX switches. There are now also newer Gateron versions that come with some unique Gateron switches that aren't really common on a lot of other keyboards. It's got great stock keycaps, great color schemes, a really nice compact size with those dedicated arrow keys, as well as some extra keys here on the right side, and I think it's one of my favorite keyboards of all time. And those, my friends, are the top 5 keyboards that I reviewed in 2020. If you're wondering why I'm missing anything like the Razer Huntsman Mini or the Corsair, whatever the new expensive keyboard they have is with optical switches, keyboards like that, if you're wondering why those are missing, it's because I didn't review them. So, I mean, obviously. Now, maybe you're one of the many people who have subbed to this channel from my GK61 video, or maybe the DK61, SK61, and you're wondering why those keyboards are not on this top 5 list when I talk so highly about at least the GK61 at the time of review. And that's simply because I feel like these 5 keyboards, for me personally, earned their spots more than the GK61. It is a great keyboard for what it is, and it was one of the first keyboards I reviewed. So at the time, I really didn't have a lot of experience with a lot of the keyboards that I have been privileged of reviewing since then. And I will say, while it is great, and if you did purchase it because of my video, don't feel bad that it's not on this list. You still made a great decision. It is still a great keyboard for what it does. These are just personally the ones that I prefer, the ones that I liked over all the others. But all in all, I'd say that these 5 keyboards here are really great. If you purchase any of them, I think you're making a great decision. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of the keyboards featured here today, I will have them all linked in the description below. Some of them may be affiliate links, which do help support the channel, and it is greatly appreciated if you do decide to purchase from my affiliate links. And if not, hey, you do you. No hard feelings. I will label them as such, so that way you know which ones are affiliate links and which ones are not. Aside from that, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for your support in 2020. Looking forward to 2021. I've already got a stack of keyboards that I'm going to be reviewing, literally like a stack of keyboards that I've just received over like the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to be reviewing those going into 2021. I really appreciate your support, and you know, if you like this video, if you like the channel, tell your friends about it. Share the channels, share the videos, share the reviews. Every little bit really helps a lot, and it helps the channel grow. We're almost at 14,000 subscribers, and I want to see how far we can take this thing in 2021. So thanks to you guys and your support, we'll see where we get. And either way, I'm really thankful to you guys. And you know, I'm out of here. Peace out and Happy New Year.